everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing some world building lore rambles today. Basically, it's my own created world, and it isn't completely finished. I mean, it's far from finished, but I do have enough content to, make it into a proper video for anyone who's curious about, just a fresh world that's been created. There's some hair on my keyboard. So today's video will mainly be consisting of, mouse clicks and some typing. I don't know how much typing. I'll go ahead and preface that now. I have no idea how much typing I'm going to be doing. Just because I will mainly just be reading out what I have written on documents, and also just, fleshing out some of the details that I might mention from the documents. So the only keyboard typing you may be hearing is just me fixing stuff or adding little details. So, before we get started though, I do want to show one book that I have. Perhaps, some book tapping. It's over here. I'm gonna move some stuff before I get to it. I have a lot of books over here that are laying on my PC. It is called The Ultimate RPG Game Master's World Building Guide. I just thought I would mention that I have this book because we are talking about world building today. It is made by the same person who made the Ultimate RPG Character Guide that I showed in my very first video, my introduction. I actually haven't really utilized these books too much. I really want to, but I sadly just, there's hair everywhere on my desk tonight. I really want to utilize them, but I just don't know where to get started. But it is a really good guide. It has a lot of different prompts and tips and advice and little activities you can do. So I would highly recommend getting these books if you are a writer or a dungeon master for D&D or something similar. Go ahead and get on with the actual lore. I think I actually made a timeline today that consists of all of just, it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess, the timeline of my world and how it functions. So right off the bat, we can start from the very beginning. Let me pull up the correct document. I have seriously, Google Docs is such a savior. Can I just say that for organizing worlds and whatnot? I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff. Let me pull my keyboard forward if I need it. There's plenty of other programs I'm sure you can use for storytelling, but I love just fitting all of my documents into a folder, being able to access it at all times. It's just very convenient. Anyways, this is not sponsored by Google. Okay, let's start off with the very beginning of it all. There is the creator of the known universe called the Architect of Time, or the Architect for shorter, and they are the simulation of life, basically. But that is just a theory. Whoa, okay, I hope that didn't pick up on the mic. There was a loud bump outside. If you didn't hear it, then just ignore me. So basically, okay, let me clarify something else before I get to this timeline. On the timeline, there is a time period called BUD, and there's a time period called AUD. What this stands for is before universal displacement and after universal displacement. Now let me go grab my document that explains what universal displacement is. I apologize if it takes a little bit to get to each one. I have so many documents that I need to look through at all the titles and whatnot. Okay. I have found where I put it in this giant document of random details. Thankfully. Basically, oh gosh, there's so many different ties, things that tie into each other that I need to get to. So basically, before I can explain universal displacement, the main planet of this universe, what is considered the Earth, if you will, is called Esterrun. Esterrun. And there's still a sun and a moon that almost function like the real sun and moon, but they have unique differences. I'll get to those. Basically, the sun and Esterrun used to revolve around the moon, basically, and the sun was way far out from Esterrun and the moon. Like it's pretty far away, and that's relevant. I will get to that later. But universal displacement came, and what universal displacement is it is an extremely rare event where the universe moves slightly, causing celestial objects to relocate and function in different ways. And the displacement also causes life, strictly mortal life, to lose all memory from beforehand. It basically shifts the memories to kind of function within the current, like post-universal displacement, if that makes sense. So what happened during this universal displacement is that the sun and Esterrun shifted slightly away from the moon, and now the moon and Esterrun revolve around the sun. And the sun and the moon are almost the same size in this world, though the sun is slightly smaller, and I will get to why. I'm going to be saying that a lot, because there's a lot of different things I gotta explain first to get to, the different story events. Where was I? Oh yes. So that's what universal displacement is. Basically, all the celestial objects shifted. Now the moon, and Esterrun are revolving around the sun, and the moon is like almost attached to Esterrun. Not literally, like they're touching, they're not making contact, but the moon revolves like the exact same place. It's like kind of, you know what I could do? I could get a piece of paper and draw out what I mean. Okay, so we have Esterrun here. And then we have the sun, which I'm not going to show them exactly where they are in the solar system. Like, I'm gonna put the sun around here, but they're not actually this close. That would just burn up the planet, I'm pretty sure. So that's the sun. And then this is the moon. Basically, both the sun and the moon. Basically, the sun and the moon are like in the dead center of where Esterrun is. Like right here, it's in the center, and right here, it's in the center. So the moon and Esterrun both revolve around the sun at the same rate, to the point where it's almost like the moon has this like invisible link to Esterrun. And what it is the Esterrun does not tilt or rotate itself. It used to. When it revolved around the moon. But it does not anymore. So one side is covered in moonlight, and one side is covered in sunlight. That's basically how the solar system works. So yes, it does revolve around the sun, but it does not rotate on its own axis. I believe that would be the right way to describe that. I don't know why I'm circling this again. So that's basically how that works. I hope that makes any sliver of sense. Okay, so alright, let's get back to this. So yes, one half is under moonlight perpetually, and the other is under sunlight perpetually. Now, let's go ahead and go back to my timeline now, because I've explained what I need to explain. So there's a time period before universal displacement and after universal displacement. I will tell you when we get to the AUD. Right now, where I'm explaining this, we're in BUD. First, just from the very beginning of the universe, the architect put the finishing touches on the known universe, and it became complete. Then, I don't have any specific dates, by the way. This is just in chronological order. But there's no known documentation of how long each period in between these events is. So the next thing that happens is the concept of mortal life came to be. Just the concept of it. Mortal life isn't in existence yet, but the concept of it exists. So then the benefactor, which is basically the universe's God. The God isn't the architect. The architect is just the creator. But the universe's God, which is called the benefactor, was born and began to craft entities that could sustain this mortal life. So you can basically say that the God was literally created from mortals. If you look at it that way, it's almost like the mortals are the God of the universe, in a sense. So, what the benefactor does, I will grab the document. The benefactor basically creates entities that crafts a sustainable place for mortal life. That is their purpose of origin. And now that their original purpose or goal has been fulfilled, they still craft new higher beings with no strict meaning. They don't have a physical form. They can't be seen. When they create an entity, they do not influence what the entity does or what the entity morphs into. They just create the essence, and that is all. So basically the entity is just morphed, and then it just transforms into whatever the hell it needs to transform into. The benefactor is completely indifferent and apathetic to everything, even the life they create. And no mortal knows of their existence. Only the higher beings know of them. And the higher beings that the benefactor creates may only craft one celestial object to guard and link with. After the creation of the object, they may never destroy it. is only possible to move and morph it. They can absolutely not, like, get rid of that essence that they've created, basically. Same thing with the higher beings. They cannot be destroyed, no matter what you do. Like, if there's not even any sort of, like, plot armor for the main character, they're gonna defeat an evil entity. No way. That is not happening. And the entities use all of their power into creating their object, as they pour all of their energy into it for its creation, and they may regain their power through praise and worship and belief from mortal life. So again, it ties back into that, it ties back into mortals, higher entities, and the god and whatnot, the benefactor. They basically just gain their power from mortals. Considering the concept of mortal life was the first thing to even appear in the universe that architect created. So, back to the timeline. The concept of mortal life came to be, and then the benefactor, the universe's god, was born and began to craft entities that could sustain mortal life. Did I already read that off? I may have already read that off, but it doesn't matter. So, one of the entities is called Nyctilus, Nyctilus, and they are the entity, or the guardian angel, because that's what they are, basically. The entities that I'm going to mention are all guardian angels, because that's basically what they are. At the end of the day, the entities, because they guard and link with their celestial object. So, Nyctilus, drumroll, is linked with the moon, basically. That is on the moonlit side of Esterrun, which I will go ahead and say right now is called the Shroud. The Shroud. And the sunlit side is called the Radiance. So, and the sunlit side, the entity or guardian angel who created the sun is called Luximara. 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 And they created the sun. They give light to the radiance of Esterrun. And I bet you're wondering who created Esterrun. Who created Esterrun? Terre Mia. Terre Mia. T-E-R-A-E space M-I-A. Terre Mia created Esterrun. And I will give you a rundown of, like, just very basic, like, personalities, because these entities, these guardian angels, do have personalities, and they are able to have physical forms. They don't prefer to use their physical forms, but they do have them. Nyctilus has a very strong sense of justice and is very stubborn, and is extremely overprotective of the Shroud, of her moon, or their moon. I'm sorry. They're technically all genderless beings. They don't really have any gender. They have an extremely strong just connection with the moon. Like, it's not, like, you don't really see that from the other entities. They don't really house a strong connection. Like, obviously they created what they created, but they're not, like, extremely overprotective like Nyctilus is. And then we have Luximara, and I will get to some more, spicy lore about Luximara. They're very important in the lore. But basically they're very blinded by the praise and worship that they get. And they're very, they feign a lot of, like, intentional ignorance. Like, they have a lot of blissful ignorance, if that makes sense. And Terre Mia is just Terre Mia. Like, they're extremely apathetic and indifferent to all the life on center, the core of Esterrun. That, oh jeez, I swear I put, give me a second. Okay, whatever. I can go off my head on this. Basically, Terramia created this core that gives them magic because they assumed that mortal life wouldn't be able to sustain itself without some magical powers, which was completely false. They absolutely, I remember which document it's on. They absolutely would be able to survive without the magic, basically. Okay, I found the document. Sorry for that pause there. So basically, yeah, mortal life could completely sustain itself without the core, and Terramia hates that. They are completely regretful of their decision. They, because they don't care about mortal life, they were just performing a duty they thought necessary. And Terramia believes that humans and animals have been spoiled with a gift that they should have never received. And, okay, I get to explain another thing now. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place because I kind of have to with this. So I hope you're able to keep up even slightly. So basically, okay, I guess I can get to this now because I'm going to have to explain what corruption and purity is in this world. So, surprise, the sun is a deadly laser. It is poisonous. It causes people on the shroud to age. Hi, I'm editing right now, and I realized that I accidentally said the shroud. I meant to say the radiance just then. Okay, goodbye. Because basically, humans in this world, and just mortal life in general, are immortal. They're not invincible. They can still die, just not to natural causes, basically. So the sun ages people on the radiance, which kills them. And the people on the radiance, they think this is completely normal. They think they're supposed to, die from old age and whatnot, but they're absolutely not supposed to. Because people on the shroud, what happens is they will grow to an adult. They will grow to adulthood, and that's basically their final form. They're not supposed to keep growing or aging from there on. They're just immortal. They just live. So, basically, the sun, because it was created from Luximara is a corrupted entity. That can happen. That can happen when the benefactor makes entities. They can become corrupt or pure or neutral. So what happens is when corrupt energy and pure energy come together, they form a rift, basically. And on Esterrun, because sunlight and moonlight are meeting at the halfway point, it causes a big rift, just all over the planet, basically. Just at the halfway point of the planet, there is just this giant rift, and it's purple, and it's called the evanescent zone. And what happens when you go into this evanescent zone is you can technically come back out, but no one who goes into the evanescent zone wants to come back out because they don't see a reason to. So let me go ahead and explain what happens in the evanescent zone, if I can find the right document. itself, like the evanescent zone, sits on the same plane as the rest of Esterrun, but it's a completely different realm from the rest of the planet, if that makes sense. Like, it's on top of Esterrun, but once you go into it, you are in a completely different realm. You are not in the, like, same exact, like, plane that mortals are in, or realm that mortals are in, if that makes sense. I'm sorry if I'm just speaking out of my ass here. I'm sorry if it sounds that way. I'm not amazing at articulating things. But what happens when a mortal touches this rift and gets pulled in, their soul is pulled out of their physical body outside of the universe for like less than a millisecond. Just like that. Like you're basically not even experiencing it almost, but you do. And then the mortal is dragged into the separate realm. And this is actually where the Archist cult resides and has formed their own civilization. And the laws of physics do not function as they should in the evanescent zone. And the Archist cult, as you can perhaps guess, worships the architect because what is believed, they think that they have seen the architect when they get pulled out of their body and go outside of the universe. They believe what they saw was the architect. And spoiler alert, yes it is. It is the architect. And basically they don't have any evidence. They don't even know how they understand that is the architect, like the name. They just know. And the reason why the architect allows them to know this, we don't know. Hey, make your own theory. But, okay, the religion that they practice is called Archism. And basically, what they want to do with this religion is attempt to gain all knowledge of the known universe. They want to become one with the architect. And that is basically what they believe. They believe that all mortals shall eventually ascend and become one with the architect. The cult wears dark purple and black robes with yellow accents. And the architect is typically symbolized by an hourglass with 2 eyes in each section of the glass, filled with stars in place of sand. So, why did I even start mentioning the evanescent zone? I have no idea. Let's go back to my timeline. Oh yes, that's why I mentioned it, because I was talking about the core. Okay, let's get back to that. The core that gives life on Esterrun magic, it got halved when the rift formed. So basically, the side on the radiance is corrupted. It's like dark purple, kind of, representing the rift itself being purple and all. And the side on the shroud is like pure white. It's like glowing. It's just pure white, blinding light. And so basically the magic on the radiance is corrupted, and it doesn't, it's not that it is used to do corrupt and evil things. It drains so much energy out of people who use it, basically, and it speeds up the aging poison. Now, on the shroud, people, there's nothing like special about the magic. It's just pure, like it's how it's supposed to be, I guess. And they are completely fine. They're living life. They just have magic. The magic is only used for, like, convenience things, though, like daily conveniences. I will say that. It's not like they can, they're not doing, like, Avatar The Last Airbender magic or something like that. It's mainly just daily convenience type stuff. And on each side of Esterrun, there is a point, basically like right smack in the center, where there is a point where the core is like the magic from the core is heightened. And basically, on the radiance, only the sanctified ones are allowed to utilize this heightened magic, which are basically members of the church who practice, what is it called? Solicism? Let me double check. I believe it is solicism. Yeah, solicism, belief in and worship of the sun. So only the sanctified ones are allowed to use that heightened magic. And on the shroud, there is also that point, but everyone on the shroud has absolutely just agreed to not use it because it would be abused, basically. They believe that people would fight over it and abuse it, so it's been shut off to everyone, which is like good for them, you know? That's smart. So, alright, let's get back to the timeline finally. So Teremia creates Esterrun, along with their, Teremia's creation, and then mortal life begins to evolve and grow on Esterrun into what we know as humans and other animals. And then, boom, UD, universal displacement, occurs. So now we're into AUD, after universal displacement. We're in that time period now. And this is where the radiance in the shroud comes to be. And with it comes the rift from moonlight and sunlight meeting, causing the evanescent zone. And this is where humans begin worshipping the respective celestial object and the guardian angel in control of it. That's where, like, the religions begin. That's where the worshipping and praising begins, and that's where they start gaining more power, the guardian angels. So, after quite some time, sunlight begins to show its effects on mortal life, which is the aging. And, reminder, the people on the radiance think this is completely normal because universal displacement removes memories. So people on the radiance just think like, oh yeah, we age. This is normal, like in real life. Heck, maybe we're not supposed to age. Gosh. So they begin worshiping. Wait, no, I already said that. Sorry. So sunlight begins to show its effects on mortal life. And then after that, sometime after that, once the effects of the sun are becoming like visible and obvious, Nyctalus, the guardian angel of the moon, makes contact with the radius, which is like forbidden because pure and corrupt things are not supposed to make contact. But luckily Nyctalus wasn't over there for very long. It takes a little while. It's not like instantaneous. It takes a little while for rifts to form. So, at least they weren't stupid and like hung out and, drank some coffee or something on the radiance, I don't know. So what they do is they interfere with the humans' memories through their dreams, because that is one of their like main abilities that this guardian angel can do, is they can manipulate and walk through, they can like dream walk, I guess is what you would call it. And what they do is they cause everyone on the radiance to slowly forget about Luximara. Because if you remember, entities gain their powers and energy through mortal life, worshipping, praising, and most importantly, believing in the entities. So, basically, everyone slowly forgets about Luximara, and that is where Luxism turns into Solicism. It used to be Luxism. It did. It used to be Luxism. That's what the religion used to be called, referencing Luximara's name. But now, it is Solicism, where they just simply worship the sun. They have no idea Luximara exists, and because of this, Luximara's energy is very diminished, and it leaves them. Jeez, why am I messing up pronouns so much like an idiot? I never struggle this much with real people, but the moment it's fictional characters, my brain's like, wee woo, let me just mess up pronouns like an idiot. Anyway. Luximara's energy gets diminished, which leaves them with much less power, causing the poison from the sunlight to age mortal life in a slower fashion. It still very much is aging them, but just a lot more slower, kind of like how we age in real life. So then, the first human to meet the evanescent zone traverses into the rift, and this mortal was from the Radiance, actually. Fun fact. So, some time passes, and more humans are beginning to be lost to the evanescent zone. And the Shroud is the first half of Esterrun to create laws and make barriers against the rift, and realizes what's going on. And later on, the Radiance creates laws and barriers against the rift. So basically, the Shroud was like the first one to notice, despite the first mortal that went missing was from despite the first mortal going missing was from the Radiance. And then we get to present day, which there's definitely some other stuff that happens in this timeline, but hey, I haven't fleshed out all the events in the worlds yet. So, hey, what you gonna do? Now that we are done with the timeline, I want to just go over like some very just basic, I guess, like fun facts. Like just, I guess, just some basic like facts, yeah, about each side of Esterrun, because I wrote like this long document about like the weather and the biomes and natural phenomena and stuff like that. So let's start off with the Radiance. The weather, there's constant heat, of course, because, I mean, you know, the sun is constantly out. Go figure. Which brings a lot of dryness and humidity. Rain is an extreme rarity, but when it does rain, it pours like extremely hard to the point of massive storms, such as like hurricanes and tornadoes and whatnot. The biomes are forests, mountains, lakes, and rivers, and valleys. And some natural phenomena are sunfire geysers, which are, you know, geysers that spit out fire from the ground. And this fire is typically accompanied by small quakes in the ground nearby, and these are located in open mountain ranges. And then we have incandescent valleys, which are pretty neat. They're basically valleys that are completely engulfed in reflective material, like mirrors, basically. The sun causes them to look like giant, bright pools of light. So basically, you do not want to be looking into an incandescent valley. Like, you need to be wearing some, like, S-grade sunglasses or something like that if you even want to, like, remotely look into an incandescent valley. And then we go ahead and get to the religion, which I mentioned before, which is not solipsism, that's a completely different thing. Solicism. And the belief is that the sun was created as a blessing to Esterrun. They don't believe that it was created by Luximara, because they forgot who Luximara even is, which is very sad for them. And the believers are called Solarians. And the forbidden things that are a part of this religion is the usage of artificial lights, because it's seen as mocking the sunlight. And enclosed buildings and spaces that don't allow light to reach inside are also forbidden, as well as photography, because it manipulates light. They're very serious about this, clearly. And the usage of man-made fire and explosives. Some practices they have is a solar festival, which an annual festival is held over the course of 2 days first day of the new year. The common offerings that are given to the sun are flowers, grains, fruits, and leaves. It is a common practice to meditate and to practice ecological stewardship. And it is also very common to exercise. Solarians hold like a high standard of being active as often as possible. The types of architecture in the radiance is like all structures are basically made of like stone and glass, and buildings of worship such as churches are made entirely of glass, so like all that good sunlight can get in there, you know. And architecture within the radiance is often like tall and towering, like really tall buildings, basically. And common fashion is bright in color, loose and thin. Pretty often it will like show skin, not too much skin, but you know what I mean. Pretty flowy and lacy clothing as well. Some accessories are wide brim hats. And well, okay, that's just one accessory. But wide brim hats, yes, and tank tops with open-toed shoes, shorts, dresses, skirts, and sleeveless shirts. And now we get onto the shroud, which is, I think, where I'll leave this video because this is getting pretty long. Basically, the weather there is very cool, like just very cool air and breezes. The temperature is always pretty cold, not like freezing cold, but you know, like if we're gonna compare it to the real world, like probably like 50s type of weather, 50s Fahrenheit, not Celsius. There's a lot of rain and hail and snow. There is, in terms of biomes, there's forests, large grass fields, deserts, oceans, swamps, and caverns. Oh yeah, the Radiance doesn't have any ocean, by the way. There's just, like I mentioned, lakes and rivers, like smaller bodies of water. But the Shroud does have one big ocean. And some natural phenomena are bioluminescent plants. There are species of plants that emit light, that, glow in the dark. And the most common colors are yellow, blue, and purple, but other colors are possible. These plants are not restricted to specific biomes and are located all throughout the Shroud. And we also have moon arches, which are similar to rainbows. They are arches in the sky, and they are formed from moonlight reflecting off of water. Moon arches are pure white and do not have colors like rainbows do. Oh yes, and the moon has cycles just like in the real world, except the cycles go from top to bottom instead of like side to side, almost kind of like how you imagine the moon cycles. They go from top to bottom. And these cycles affect emotions in mortals as well as the strength of the ocean's tides. And the religion on the Shroud is called Noctilism. And the belief is the moon was crafted by the hands of Nyctilis, its guardian angel, as a gift to the nocturnal life on Esterrun. The nocturnal life, well, I guess they're nocturnal. Duh. Technically, they're nocturnal, yeah. I was about to fix that, and then I'm silly. Anyway, Nyctilis is always watching over the Shroud and has the people in their best interest, and the moon cycles are controlled by Nyctilis, which is all true. Basically, what they believe in is just completely true. And the believers are called Noctarians, and the members of the church are called Graces. The forbidden things in the Shroud, according to Noctilism, is the usage of artificial lights besides candles and lanterns, because basically it's extremely frowned upon to have any texture in the shroud. Most buildings are made of different types of wood, and structures are often wide and short and are built into the ground in nearby terrain. Now, the common fashion on the shroud is stuff that's dark in color, thin and translucent layers, metallic and reflective accents, silver jewelry, boots, pants, long coats, capes, and headpieces. Now, that is basically all I have, except one more thing I want to mention. I know I said that was going to be the last thing, but I just added something recently today, and I want to mention it real quick. So basically, before the universal displacement, Esterrun used to have a 32-hour day-night cycle. In the present timeline, there is, of course, like no more cycle because Esterrun does not rotate itself, except around the sun, of course. However, the circadian rhythm of all living beings still lasts 32 hours, and this is how the days are documented. There are no weeks or months, only days in a year. Or actually, that's incorrect. Hold on. That's true for the radiant specifically. There are no weeks or months, but only days in a year. Back when Esterrun and the sun rotated the moon, it took 274 days, which was considered a year, and this documentation survived specifically on the radiants, and those in the present take it for fact still. It is not yet known how long a year truly is on Esterrun in present time, and those on the shroud do not use years to document time, but instead they mark months based on the cycles of the moon. So there's basically no years on the shroud. It's literally just moon cycles that are basically months. Time documentation is extremely different on each side. I just wanted to mention that one last bit of information. I'm just looking through my document to see if I missed anything like specific. Oh yes, I guess something to mention about Luximara is they were not ill-intentioned when they accepted the praise and worship from mortals, but they were also not ignorant of the sun's deadly sunlight. They just really reveled in the praise and found the radiance to be their new obsession. As humans on this side began their worship of the sun. And they began to just kind of almost forget about all the deadliness of the sunlight and welcome the fact that Esterrun revolved around it now. But Luximara's life was just kind of always doomed, considering when they were created to existence, like I mentioned before, by the benefactor, they were corrupt. So their creation of the sun was basically an attempt to be pure, to give like light and happiness to the universe, but it, of course, failed. Womp womp. And it became a giant ball of death. Slow, agonizing death. So Luximara forced their sun into the solar system of Esterrun and the moon, hoping to be recognized, basically. So they're a little bit stupid. Yeah, they're just very power obsessed, but didn't have like ill intentions, I suppose. They're just a little bit dumb. But yeah, I suppose that's basically all I have for today. I can go ahead and shut all these documents out. So thank you so much for listening to my rambles, and I am going to continue to work so sorry if it was incoherent. It kind of was, because I was jumping all over the place, so my apologies. I hope that, listening to me whisper about something I'm passionate about still helps you feel relaxed in some way. And I hope you have a wonderful night, wonderful sleep, and I hope you feel well rested in